Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm back from EUIC, just in time to talk about some new Ethan's Pokemon. That's right, we have new Ethan's Pokemon, we've got ourselves a Sudowoodo, and we got ourselves a Pinsir. So let's have a chat about some new Ethan's Pokemon. And we're going to start off with Pinsir. I just want to point out something that Antoine has also pointed out here. It's actually literally, the second attack literally translates to One-Horned Revenge. Why is it a Pinsir and not a Heracross? Just putting that one out there. Definitely should have been a Heracross. But let's start off with Pinsir, because this one, actually they both could be good. This one could be very, very nice. What we've got here is single energy, 20 damage on 120 HP grass basic. Nobody cares, that's not good. But then we've got, okay, to be fair, if you're hitting for weakness and it's turn 1 going second, fine. But more importantly, we got free energy, 70 damage. If any of your Ethan's Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, this attack does 100 more damage. I love this attack. I love this attack for like 57 different reasons. First of all, let's assume nothing was KO'd last turn. Let's say it's turn 1. You're going second. This is still a good attack, and the reason is it is 70 plus. Turn 1, going second, if you can get free energy on here, this will do 70 damage. And the thing is, there are a lot of Pokemon that have 70 HP right now. We just saw in the European Internationals finals, Ryuki Okada won. Now it was a poison turn 1 going first, not an attack turn 1 going second. But it was, oh, there's a lone Dreepy in the active. I'm going to KO it and win the International Championships. Dreepy has 70 HP. Most evolving basics have 70 HP. Most of the time, you are desperately hoping you've got 70 HP rather than 60. And yes, I know there are exceptions, but most of them have 70. So if you can get free energy onto this, turn 1 going second, if your opponent passes with a single 70 HP basic, which honestly happens moderately often, just put free energy on and KO it. And you're good to go. And I don't want to hear any of this, Wassy, how are we going to get free energy on it? Ethan's Ho-Oh. Like, Ethan's Ho-Oh is going to get you free energy on here without trying very hard at all, because it's got an ability that says once during your turn, you may attach 2 basic fire energy from your hand to one of your benched Ethan's Pokemon. So the only real downside is here that you've got to use fire energy, but remember that Pinsir uses colorless energy, so fire energy is fine, and you've got to have Pinsir on the bench to accelerate the energy too. That's it. That is not that difficult. Bench a Pinsir, attach the energy, switch it into the active. Turn 1 going second 70 is huge right now. Absolutely huge. And this will hit that number. And I know it's free energy, but Ho-Oh means you don't really care about the free energy. Having a basic Pokemon that can do 70 damage fairly reliably is absolutely gigantic because of the whole turn 1 going second thing. Let's look at some other decks that are being good in Japan right now. Golden Go, that evolves from a 70 HP Gimmighoul. You'll KO that. For Alligator, just won the Champions League in Fukuoka. Evolves from a 70 HP Totodile. This is a very, very big deal. Like, genuinely, 70 damage, turn 1, going second reliably, absolutely huge. This can hit it. And like, genuinely all you need is one Ho-Oh, one Pinsir, and a way to switch into the active, plus then your free energy in hand, but we know we've got ways to search for the energy. I adore this. This is fantastic. But then, if you had a Pokemon KO'd last turn, it does 170. So it's really good as a turn 1 going second option. But even later in the game, it's a pretty reliable just 170, 170, 170. You have a Pokemon KO'd, you do 170. Now, 170 is fine. It's not great, it's fine. You will get some support Pokemon, things like a Squawkabilly, for instance. You're happily in range of KOing Squawkabilly here. You're not going to get that many support Pokemon, but there's always things around like Squawkabilly that you will be able to KO here, which is quite nice. So the odd thing like that. And then, of course, you've got your 2 prizes of the week. Charizard springs to mind. And again, these numbers aren't a coincidence. You do 170. 170 times 2 of weakness is 340. Oh, it just so happens to get a one-hit KO on a Charizard EX because of the weakness. That's not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. That's a very deliberate thing. Others you might see around, Roaring Moon. This will get a very easy one-hit KO because you only actually need to do 230. Hydreigon, if anybody ever actually ends up playing it, you'll go and get a KO on. Most of the time, it's going to end up being Charizard with the occasional Roaring Moon. But I'm just saying that there are a few other things running around that you might end up catching it in the crosshairs. I don't actually think you'll get much more than Charizard the vast majority of the time. But you never know what's going to end up being weak in the future. The fact that you can get a one-hit KO on anything that's weak is brilliant. The fact that it will get some weaker support Pokemon like Squawkabilly is brilliant. The fact that it will get most single prizes is brilliant. And the fact that it can do turn 1, 70 damage going second is brilliant. The only downside of this is that it's free energy, which is very expensive. But free energy works. Because 1 Ho-Oh accelerates 2 energy, you're allowed to attach an energy from your hand during your turn, so there's your free energy. If it took 4 energy and forced a second Ho-Oh, then I'd be kind of super annoyed. But it doesn't. So I'm not really that annoyed, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I'm sitting here talking about how it's mostly going to get Charizard. Remember, there are other new cards like, I don't know, Cynthia's Garchomp, that this will also get a casual one-hit KO on. And while we're here, Cornerstone Mask Ogapon blocks Pokemon with abilities, and Macargo has an ability, and Ho-Oh has an ability. This doesn't have no ability, ladies and gentlemen. So maybe I'm underselling quite how good it could be as a Pokemon going into some of these EXs. I'm honestly loving this. I think this is a 5 Wossie card. Maybe Ethan ends up being terrible and no one ends up playing Ethan, and that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, this hits numbers. It's weakness against Charizard, which is still a viable Pokemon. There will be other grass stuff this week in the future. It hits evolving basics. Numbers-wise, this just works. I love this. But we do have a Sudowoodo as well, which I obviously don't like quite as much, or I wouldn't have spent, the first 7.5 minutes focusing on the Pinsir. But it is new Okacheke artwork, and you all know at this point, I love new Okacheke artwork. First attack, 1 fighting energy, 20 damage, and stops retreating. It's fine. Again, it's a basic Pokemon, single energy, so you absolutely can just use this turn 1 going second if you've got nothing else going on. It's fine. But remember, Ethan's Ho-Oh accelerates fire energy. Your main big attacker is Ethan's Macargo that uses fire energy. And if you ever use it, which I've explained before, I don't think you're probably going to, but if you are ever using it, Ethan's Typhlosion uses fire energy. So from what we've seen so far, we're not playing fighting energy. So I don't think we're ever going to use this. As a side note, I haven't actually said it yet, so let me remind you. Remember that we have got a really nice Ethan supporter card here. Ethan's Adventure, which lets you search your deck for free in any combination of Ethan's Pokemon or basic fire energy. So when I said a minute ago we've got ways to get the energy, this is not the only one by a long shot, but one of the ones to which I am referring. And then, of course, we've got the Quilava, which will allow you to search one of them out during your turn. Very nice little suite we've got going on here. So is the second attack any better? Yeah. 2 colourless energy, and again, with Ethan's Ho-Oh and Ethan's Adventure, getting the energy on, very simple. You flip a coin, and if heads, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, as this attack. And remember the rule here, if you need the specific energy, it tells you you must have the correct energy to use this attack. Because it doesn't say that, you are just copying it without having to do anything else. So if you find yourself opposite a Dragapult, you can do 200 damage to the active while dropping 6 damage counters on the bench, as an example. If you find yourself opposite a Charizard, you can do 180 damage plus 30 more for each prize card your opponents take them. And honestly, like I've said, if you end up opposite a Charizard, you really want to be hoping that you're attacking with Pinsir here. So it's a decent enough attack. The problem is we've actually got a lot of Pokemon around right now whose attacks aren't really worth copying. Like for Alligator, you really want to copy Giant Wave with Torrential Heart, the ability. Doesn't KO itself. Golden Go, you've got to discard a bunch of energy cards from your hand, which you might not have. Raging Bolt, you've got to discard energy from your Pokemon, and maybe you've got enough energy on your Pokemon. And if you have, you can copy Raging Bolt. But my point is, there's a lot of Pokemon around right now whose attacks are kind of awkward to copy, and you've got to do it on a coin flip. I think there may well be metagames, and I don't think we're really in one at the moment, but I think there might be metagames where all the main Pokemon have big attacks that KO themselves without having to have a bunch of other specific stuff going on. And if we're there, then yes, I do think this could be a really nice attack. But even then, it's got to be on a coin flip anyway, so ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill free Wassies. I don't think this is necessarily a bad attack, but the fact that it's on a flip, and as I'm looking through winning decks at the moment, there are way too many where I'm like, well, it wouldn't work for that, wouldn't work for that, wouldn't work for that. I'm just not overly excited about it, and I'm sorry. But that Pinsir, I'm telling you right now, that Pinsir is brilliant. It only really works in an Ethan's deck. But in an Ethan's deck, which already with Ho and Makago I was really liking, I think this could be really, really good. Plus, you've now got Makago, which is your big, I'm going to smash whatever happens to be, giant, but it's going to take a lot of energy to do so attack. And then Pinsir for like, oh, you've got a single prize deck. I'm not going to spend loads of time and effort bringing up my Makago. That's what I think. I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Goodness! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Fawny Horvath, who's not been a supporter for very long, but seems to be a very lovely person, so shout-out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.